a paper. I says, we agreed on 8%. He says, well, I'm giving you 10%. I says, I didn't ask anybody for any money. I did my work. That was my contract. That's all I'm contracted for is work. If you guys pick up $1.5 million down the road or $7 million from the federal government and you want to do a gift to me after the fact because you have surplus or you feel you want to give me a gift, that's your business, but I'm not asking you for anything. I did my, we had a contract, I fulfilled my contract to you, and that's it. You know, when you got a gift, what is a gift? Okay. Most of you are too young to understand this, but some of you are old enough. Remember the movie I Dream of Jeannie? Huh? You're laughing. You must have watched it. All right. What is a genie? Everybody knows it deals with magic, right? Okay, you have a genie and you have a djinn. A djinn is the grandmaster of genies. He's got all the power. So genie was a program where as a astronaut opened up a bottle and let the genie out. And the genie fell in love. She's laughing. She's seen it. The genie fell in love with Tony and did all these crazy things trying to help him. And every time she used her magic to help him, wound up getting in trouble. And the whole TV show was a comedy. Well, along the way, Jeannie goes ahead and she's going to use magic to go ahead and make Tony fall in love with her. One thing about the word love, it has to be free will. And if a genie violates the word, if it violates the free will of love, loses her powers. So Jeannie went ahead and played her trump card and Tony fell in love. Well, Jeannie's dad shows up to Jen and says, you broke the rules. You got no power. So now she's back to an ordinary woman, living a mortal life, having to learn how to cook and clean and iron and do everything domestically. Well, at the end of the show, the Jen goes ahead and gives Jeannie back her power because she learned her lesson. So then I got to thinking about that. What would any of you do if somebody gave you power to snap your fingers and create things out of thin air? Give you absolute power over all things. What does that mean to you? Will you be responsible for power? Will you be a teacher? Will you acquire wisdom from this here? Or will you go out there and practice mischief? Well, I looked at myself in the mirror one day and I said to myself, could you, or will you make a contract with yourself, David, that if you were given the power, absolute power, will you be responsible for that? And I said, yeah, I can do that. Ah, but would you do that at the point of death? In other words, if you violate the rules of absolute power, which is the word meek, M-E-E-K, that you will be struck down and you will die without cause. I says, yes, I'll make that contract with you. And what I'm doing is I'm talking to the mirror. So the mirror is a reflection of the opposite. But when the opposite goes through your eye, it's putting your brain as the correctness. The correct image appears in front of your brain. So I made a contract with myself and with God that I will be correct if given the power to be correct, to fix it. And what is syntax? Syntax controls all the contracts on planet Earth. Parse, syntax, grammar. And so 7 years later goes by, and I die on the operating table. And I'm reborn. And my whole personality is different. My 6-year-old daughter walks up to me and says, you don't smell like my daddy. You got green eyes now. You don't look like my daddy. My daddy had hazel eyes. You got bright green eyes. You don't look like my daddy. You don't smell like my daddy. My daughter was estranged from me until she turned 16 and then never talked to me again until she was 28. True story. My other children are very close to me. But the point is, I did acquire the math interface on grammar, giving me power on grammar. Grammar controls all contract, and contract controls all topics on planet Earth, all money, everything. So what happened was I acquired the power over all things in all languages on planet Earth through the math interface of communications. So I made a contract, and I've always been honorable to that contract, and I was reborn again. So what did I get with the power? I get to have clothes, food, shelter, and travel, and have immunity, which I acquired through my diplomatic position of the United Nations as a sovereign, as a federal judge, but I'm always correct. And anybody walks up to me or goes on the internet and can say, you're not a federal judge, you're not part of the United States District Court. Well, a district court judge is not a federal judge. He's a district, demon god of the underworld for trickery in a closed area. That's what it means. I don't do demon stuff, anything. I am 100% mathematically correct in everything I do and everything I say on paper. And I am a federal judge on every document I sign, and that document is the court. And when we go into a scenario, we are correct in that court, and that judge is going to come off the bench, and he's going to sign that document, or he's not the judge in the case, and I will be that federal judge in that court in front of that individual, and I will tell him so. And if he thinks he's going to touch me, he's going to have a whole world of hurt come down from all over the world. And he already knows that. That's why they run out of the courtroom. Or they lock the doors. Or I show up in Honolulu, Hawaii last year. And everybody talks about this. I was ordered to go to court and testify. I went to court, and it was announced that all the courts in Hawaii and all the schools were closed because of the high wind alert. That they were afraid the school buses were going to be blown over. That court-appointed lawyers, attorneys, judges were going to be blown off the road because of the high wind alert. On that day, you couldn't knock a candle out with the wind. But I went to court with a whole parade of kapunas behind me. We got to the court, and the sheriff was standing going like, court's closed. It's Friday. It's declared a court holiday. There's nothing on the books for that. All the schools are closed too. The whole state of Hawaii is declared a holiday today because of the high wind alert. It's all over the news, broadcasted all over the world.
When you mentioned what is a gift, a number of years ago there was some deal going around called gifting. You pay so much.
It's called Pay It Forward. They made a movie.
And I decided, because they use scripture to kind of smooth it over, and some people almost went to jail for it. I'm not sure. It was kind of quieted down all of a sudden. I looked up the word gift in the dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a number of different definitions, but the one I remember is, it said, your request is not my gift.
No contract is a gift, is what it means. In other words, you don't have a contract to give anybody anything, but you look at the value of the situation. It's your own personal judgment to either participate or not participate.
Okay.
In order for evil to flourish, good people must do nothing. If you see a wrong and you intervene and you correct the situation, maybe it requires a financial gift to stop and correct a wrong, to give a person food, money, or hope, to educate an individual with certain points of information. That then becomes a gift. Knowledge is the most important thing on planet Earth. If I take a little slip of paper a half-inch long, a half-inch wide, and 2 inches long, what's it worth to you? It's a little piece of paper. You just throw it in the garbage. And then I write the 6 winning numbers to the lottery tonight at 8 o'clock, which is worth $300 million. Now what's that little slip of paper worth? Yeah. It's called points of information. Aflac, paycheck. He knew that if he went back and changed time, the company wouldn't exist to pay him his paycheck. So what did he do? He knew what the 6 winning lottery ticket numbers were going to be when he came back. So he wrote them down and put them away 6 days earlier. So when he got there, he'd have a paycheck of $15 million. Kind of a cute ending to a great story. Point is, information is the most powerful thing in the world. If you study and you become proficient and you acquire the gift of syntax, you will know how to answer the questions that save people's lives and make a difference. I do it all the time. I do it as a parlor trick. Maybe 1 out of every 20 people actually pay me to do my job. The rest of them, you ask me a question, I just pop it off to you, have a tape recorder, and I'll give you all the answers you want as fast as you can, that recorder can record. Because if you try to write stuff down, I'm not going to repeat myself. If you want to get in a conversation with me, you better have a tape recorder running, because you're not going to believe what you hear in the next 5 minutes, because it'll take you a month of research just to pull it out of the dictionary. Those that know me, those that have done business with me, know that once you get into bed with me, I take care of you. I answer your questions. I'm on the phone, available from 3 a.m. in the morning, all the way from 7 a.m. in the morning till 3 a.m. in the morning. 20 hours a day I'm there available, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. How many judges do you know you can call at 2 a.m. in the morning? They're just going to answer the phone and give you an answer to a problem. I'm there. I do it all the time. But only the people that are supposed to be there and talk to me get through on the phone. Look at all the millions of people, billions of people I have on my website, and yet only the people that are supposed to call me with important questions that are under contract with me are the ones that get through. Everybody else doesn't know how to do it. Yes, question? Oh. Oh yeah, I'll be on Skype and 2 phones at the same time while I'm day trading and syntaxing a lawsuit. It's called multitasking. I can use my right brain, mathematics, doing numbers and syntaxing papers at doing 300 words, about 30 minutes, so about 600 words an hour. I'll do syntaxing while watching a movie.
Did you say you fast forward the movie?
Well, yeah, other movies, if I've seen a movie once, like Gone with the Wynn, I'll just put it on high speed and watch a 3.5-hour movie in 6 minutes. Or for entertainment, I'll walk through a video store and use 1 second on each title and go like, I know all the plots, I know all the actors, I know the whole thing, and bang, 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 watch 20,000 movies an hour just by reviewing my mind as to what I've seen in my life at 63 years. So I grew up, I was 18 years old before I had my first TV set. So I grew up with a crystal radio that I built myself. I had to learn how to read books. I used the library and library card catalogs. I lived in a library 40 hours a week, 7 days a week. And I did that from the age of 8 to 18. So I was an information junkie, studied to be a doctor at the age of 12, and at 18 I put it all away and became a welder. Metallurgy, engineering, heat treating, all the things that build the world, because I was a builder. Built my own homes, built my own car, built my own boats, built 3 cars, as a matter of fact, 3 Corvettes. I drive the only Lexan plastic bulletproof Corvette in the United States. Does 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds, weighs 2,400 pounds, and is 380 horsepower. It'll blow anything off the line outside of a Cobra, which goes 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. But if I want to put a turbocharger on it, I could probably get it down to 3 seconds without too much trouble. I built one with lock positive traction. Took the universal apart and welded it together with super missile weld so that both tires sped at the same time. And that was a quick little machine. That only weighed 2,200 pounds at 380 horsepower. That was kind of dangerous, so I got rid of it. So sold it to a guy that does stock car racing. Yeah.
You said you're built like your Hiram William. Do you have his phone number and address?
They're on the forms I give you. So, yes.
There was a gentleman here earlier that wanted me to ask you why, or if your patent would supersede the U.S. patent, and why.
Why doesn't have any patents with the United States government? Is that what you're asking?
Well, he just wanted to know. He wanted it to be on the video so when he come back and watch
The United States government never had the correct parse syntax grammar to invade the Hawaiian Islands. Pearl Harbor was gifted in 1848 to the United States Postal Service by King Kamehameha I. That was it. Everything else in 1893 was an issue of coal, C-O-A-L. The Germans, the French, and the Portuguese all planned to take over the Hawaiian Islands 6 months after the takeover of the United States taking over Hawaii. They just beat them to the punch because the population stood by 1893 at probably 60,000 Hawaiians versus 3 million invaders back then. So, questions?
If you become president, will you get the peace treaty signed between Israel and the Palestinians?
Yes, Ron, I told you a story about Helm. That already was signed way back about 6 years ago, 7 years ago. That's why there hasn't been any commotion there. They both are familiar.
That was already signed.
Yeah, that was already done in quantum 6, 7 years ago. Even though the people are still making noise, those are satellite groups, but the people who originally signed that have not been fighting with each other because of the words. But then there's been the people who are involved with the original treaties are senior citizens, bad health, some have died. So the new people coming in are not familiar with the new terminologies, and so therefore they're drifting back into fiction, whereas they had quantum before. And if you don't take time to study, you're not going to be proficient. So every generation, just like ambassadors at the UN are traded off every two years. They run a 6-year ambassadorship, and every 2 years, 1/3 of all the ambassadors in the UN are changed out. So from the time I got my ambassadorship in 1999, under sovereignty, I'm still hold that position as because there's only 2 of us, Russell and I. All the rest of the people in fiction are changed out, but I have a lifetime appointment as a director of a sovereign country called Quantum Grammar. So that's where that stands. Yes?
There are some of us without birth certificates and social security numbers. Is there a certain way to interact with the world? Or?
Well, if you don't have a social security number, it's pretty tough to get a driver's license or a passport. And because the world of fiction, you can travel anywhere you want, except the corporation of airlines, trains, buses, and automobiles are all controlled by Social Security. In other words, you have to have that number to move between point A and point B. As long as you stand still, nobody's going to bother you. It's when you want to go across state lines or federal, international lines, they want to have those points of information. Otherwise, I would recommend you send your identity, do a claim to life, mail it to yourself, registered mail. That way you've got a quantum registered mail with the post office. Use that as your identity to go and mail yourself anywhere you want to go, registered mail. And then send yourself, put a post-it like I did Russell. My business partner, Russell Gould, is the only person in the history of the post office to be mailed from the United States out of Pennsylvania through Montreal, Canada, into Paris, France, and back to the United States, to Philadelphia, registered mail, by me as the postmaster, transporting him as registered mail to there and back in quantum language. They had no remedy for quantum language. Once we completed that task, all the post offices worldwide passed a law that said you must have 3 forms of identity: a ticket, 2 forms of state ID, which is a passport and driver's license, and a birth certificate certifying your location. Changed all the laws on the planet. He tried to do it a second time, it was not successful. The U.S. Department of Immigration and Customs said, yes, you can go. We have no way to stop you. But the insurance company that controlled the United Airlines flight says, no, we will not insure you to get on our plane. You're not a dead person. Only dead people can fly on our airplane. In case it crashes, there's no liability. You must be a nom de guerre dead person on our plane. That's why all plane crashes never have survivors. Because they don't want people surviving. Otherwise, they'd sue you out of existence for public safety.